Welcome back. Today's explainer is a real treat. We're diving into a super simple but absolutely brilliant motivational story called The Boy Who Never Gave Up. You know, I really love dissecting stories like this because they strip away all the complicated fluff and just leave us with the raw mechanics of what it actually takes to succeed. We're going to break down the journey of a young guy named Ollie and really look at the anatomy of his mindset. So let's just jump right in.
Can persistence actually beat natural talent? I mean, seriously, think about that for a second. That right there is the core conflict of our story today. And honestly, it's kind of the core conflict of almost every big thing anyone has ever tried to achieve. We are constantly told that talent is king, right? That genetics dictate how far you can go. But as we're about to unpack in this explainer, this story challenges that assumption head on. So just keep that question in the back of your mind as we go through Ollie's journey.
Section 1. The Impossible Dream.
Okay, so our main guy is a boy named Ollie. And like anyone who ends up doing something extraordinary, he started out with a massive vision. He had this dream of becoming a champion runner. But, well, his reality was a little different. Actually, a lot different. He was always the slowest in every single race. Think about the gravity of that for a second. He wasn't second best, he wasn't even average. He was literally the absolute slowest. The gap between where he was and where he wanted to be couldn't possibly have been wider. For most of us, when reality clashes that hard with the dream, our logical brain just says, yeah, let's pack it up and stop. But Ollie, he didn't operate like that.
Section 2. The Lonely Grind.
See, when you're starting out with a massive deficit in talent, the only thing you can actually control is your effort. And effort, especially early on, is a super lonely road. The village around him represents the status quo. They slept in, and when they finally woke up, they just laughed at him. They chose the comfortable route. But Ollie, every single morning, long before the sun even came up, he was awake, out there, practicing his running. He chose ambition over comfort. And the real takeaway here is that extraordinary results demand these uncomfortable daily habits that most people are just flat out unwilling to do.
But honestly, waking up in the dark wasn't even the hardest part. It was this: you'll never win. Those were the actual words his neighbors threw at him. I want to just pause for a second and let that sink in. Imagine putting in all that dark, exhausting morning work, knowing you're already the slowest, and the only feedback you get from the people around you is just definitive, soul-crushing doubt. They didn't say, hey, it's going to be tough. No, they told him, you'll never win. Protecting your mindset when your entire environment is actively trying to tear it down, that is unbelievably difficult.
So how did he respond to all that negativity? But Ollie kept training. 4 simple words, but they are incredibly powerful. This is the absolute pivot point of the whole story. He didn't sit there and argue with them. He didn't try to explain his grand vision to people who were committed to misunderstanding him anyway. He just absorbed it and chose absolute refusal. He completely refused to let their limited perception dictate his reality. He just kept running.
And we are not talking about a quick weekend of motivation here. This was a grueling, totally unrewarded marathon of dedication. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months, until finally, we hit the 1-year mark. 1 year later. A full year of waking up in the dark. A full year of being the joke of the village. A full year of sweating it out without a single trophy to show for it. That right there, that is the literal definition of grit.
Section 3. The Big Race.
So after a year of all this silent preparation, the village finally held a big race. The stage is set. This is where the theory hits the harsh reality of competition. And, as they're lining up, everyone expected the fastest runners to win. The village's bias toward natural talent hadn't shifted one bit in that entire year. The status quo was still firmly in place, and everyone just expected the natural order to unfold exactly like it always did.
But when that starting gun went off, Ollie ran with literally all his strength. And he didn't just run with his legs. He tapped into this deep mental reservoir. 1. He remembered every early morning. 2. Every drop of sweat. And 3. Every single moment people doubted him. This is so crucial. He didn't try to forget the pain of the past year. He weaponized it. He used the discipline, the physical toll, and the sting of all those laughs as his literal fuel for that final sprint.
And as he pushed toward the finish line, channeling all that compounded effort, something absolutely incredible happened. He hit number 1. First place. The kid who was fundamentally known as the slowest person in every race had just crossed the finish line before anybody else.
Now pay attention to how people react to undeniable proof. Before the race, people laughed at him. That was the general consensus. But at the finish line, the crowd was applauding him. The exact same people who were dishing out the doubt, the laughs, and the resistance were now the ones cheering the loudest.
It really shows you how fickle external validation actually is. The crowd doesn't get to dictate what's possible. The crowd just reacts to the results you force them to see.
Section 4. Redefining success.
But the real climax here isn't just about winning a race. It's about the wisdom he gained getting there. After grabbing his trophy, Ali told the crowd, "Success doesn't come from talent alone. It comes from refusing to quit when everyone else thinks you should." Boom. He completely shatters the myth of natural talent that his village was so obsessed with. Notice he doesn't say talent doesn't matter, but he explicitly says success doesn't come from it alone. The actual secret ingredient? Stubbornness. It's the absolute refusal to stop moving your feet when the entire world is literally giving you permission to quit.
So bringing all this down to its absolute core, we get the moral of our story. Hard work and persistence can turn impossible dreams into reality. I know, it kind of sounds like a cliche, right? Until you map it out against the actual timeline we just walked through. When you systematically apply that level of hard work before the sun even comes up, and you persist through being mocked for months on end, the word impossible just becomes a temporary status. It's a gap that you absolutely can close with time and relentless effort.
So I want to leave you with this direct question to chew on. What is your impossible dream that you need to stop quitting on? We all have our own version of Ali's race, don't we? We all have that one thing where we feel like we're starting out dead last, facing a village of doubters, or maybe it's just our own internal voice saying, "You'll never win." But the source material today proves the math of persistence. The formula actually works. You just have to be willing to wake up in the dark and run. Think about what that looks like for your life, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.